Good afternoon, everyone. It's 1 o'clock. We'll get started here. We do have quorum. We are in presence of our clerks. So we are able to proceed. I'll call this meeting to order exactly 1 p.m. Our first order of business is our land acknowledgement statement. The Township of Hamilton is situated within the traditional territory of the Mississauga, Anishinaabe, and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. Our work on these lands respectfully acknowledges their resilience and their long-lasting contributions to the area now known as the Township of Hamilton. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest today? Seeing none, that shall be recorded. Item 4 on our agenda is the confirmation of the agenda. Could I have someone approve the agenda as circulated, please? Moved by Mark, seconded by John. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Delegations and presentations. Do we have someone on Zoom with us today? Good. I was wondering if the weather was going to be a factor, but obviously not. We have a delegation and a presentation on our communication tower on, I should look, Bowman Road, 4136 Bowman Road. Ladies, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for having us, even though this time it's virtually. We were going to try and make it out in person, but as the weather can sometimes cause difficulties. Can you hear me all right on your end?
We're good at this end. Yes,
okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. So you may recognize me from my previous presentations in regards to the telecommunication protocol, but again, my name is Cheyenne Zierler, and I'm the planning manager here at Shared Tower on the proposed site here, SNC 140, which, as you mentioned, is located at 4136 Bowman Road. Next slide, please. Go. So as I touched on in my previous presentations, just looking at the existing telecommunications towers in the area, that's really an important factor in investigating why a new tower is needed and trying to find the best location, not only for the area, but also to utilize those other towers, alleviate and shoulder traffic from them, and also allow providers to co-locate on the tower in order to strengthen networks for multiple service providers. So as you can see, there's the 3 locations in the middle there, and those are the 3 locations we had looked at the previous meeting. So location 3 is the site that we decided to move forward with, which was a little bit further away from the Cold Springs Memorial Hall. Now, we can see that the red dots in the surrounding area, those are the existing towers. So there's definitely a significant gap, and the existing towers are not able to support the area. They're much too far away to even try and add additional equipment to, so that's why an additional tower is needed to service that area. Next slide. So in terms of the alternative site that we decided to move forward with, it's located at 4136 Bowman Road. You can see on the slide here, there's an orange square, which is where the proposed tower will be located. Now, this site does have the elevation, although it's further away where we were looking previously, it does have the elevation to still cover Cold Springs and Camborne. It actually has a direct line of sight, which is really important when dealing with certain areas that have a lot of different topography, hills, valleys, because the signal doesn't travel through the ground. It really needs to be positioned in a space where direct line of sight can happen to a certain area and also to existing towers to provide that service. And after this tower is constructed, the other towers are actually able to calibrate the equipment on their towers to really focus in on specific areas closer to them and alleviate them because this new tower is being installed and can service Camborne and Cold Springs. Next slide, please. And this I also reviewed in my previous presentation. So to the left, that was our original site location. And as you can see with the alternative site, which we move forward with at 4136 Bowman Road, you can see that orange line, which really indicates the line of sight straight down to Camborne. At the top, you can see where it says Camborne, there's that big hill there, which was really a determining factor in finding the appropriate spot in order to provide that service. Like I mentioned, the signal won't go through the ground or hills. So we needed to make sure that the line of sight was present for whichever site we move forward with. So provides ample coverage to Camborne and then also to Cold Springs. Next slide, please. In terms of the public consultation, we did conduct public consultation again for this site. The mailing addresses were provided by staff, and that was sent out by registered mail on November 16th. There were approximately 13 residences, plus a copy was sent to ISET as well. The open house was conducted on December 6th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Cold Springs Memorial Hall. And the signage was also posted on the subject site, indicating the public commenting period as well as the open house. Now, last time that I gave this presentation, or I think the past couple of times, I know that there was some opposition to the previous sites, and that's where we were given the directive to find a site with no opposition. Now, walking away from that definitely sounded to be a difficult task, because we typically see there's sometimes some opposition or at least questions surrounding the proposal, but I'm very happy to be able to report that there was no opposition, no comments, and there were no residences that attended the open house other than the property owners themselves. They just wanted to attend and see if anyone else was going to attend, and see if there were any concerns that they could be aware of as well. So very happy to report that there was no opposition for this site. Next slide, please. Now, just in conclusion, I know I've highlighted this a few times. The infrastructure is required. It is part of the Eastern Ontario Regional Network CellGAP project, and those deadlines are coming up. We really want to highlight that it can become a safety issue not being able to access just basic coverage. You know, this tower is not due to necessarily a capacity issue where people are being impatient because their YouTube video is not loading at a speed that they want. This is just basic coverage and making sure that the community has access to that basic coverage. Now, in terms of next steps, as I mentioned, the Eorn CellGAP project, they have some deadlines which are coming up. This application, as I'm sure you're all aware, has been going on for quite some time. I think we're coming up to or have passed over about 2 years now. And in order for us to make those deadlines, we're requesting that staff and the municipality are able to work with us in order to provide that concurrence in January so that we can meet the deadlines in February and March as well. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you. We should acknowledge that Councillor Butter has just arrived to the meeting room. Do we have any questions for our presenters? John, please.
Through you, Mayor Jib. Just one question, Cheyenne. Is there any possibility of anybody that's come forward already to say that they want to share the tower? Any company, Bell, Rogers, WISP, whoever?
We do have one confirmed anchor tenant, which is Rogers, and we've also been speaking with the other carriers as well to co-locate on the tower. I think I mentioned last time, oftentimes townships or municipalities will also ask to co-locate their equipment on the tower. Now, working with service providers specifically, typically they're looking at their budgets out for next year and the year after. So while they might not locate their equipment immediately on the tower, there's still the possibility that they would co-locate on the tower after it's built in following years.
Okay, thank you very much. That was another good presentation. Third one, the third one's a charm, I guess.
Any further
Thank you.
questions? Comments? Mark?
Just one quick one. How big is the tower? I didn't see any documentation of the tower size and so forth.
It's a great question. Yes, this is a 65-meter self-support tower.
65 meters. So it'll have lights and so forth put on it. And to John's question, it'll be able to support more than one provider. So how many would be maximum on a tower this size?
So typically for carriers, based on the equipment that they provide, if they're all around the similar size, it would be 3. If there were, for example, other WISPs or municipal equipment, which might be a little bit smaller or located further down the tower, then there could be a few more additionals, but typically we would just see 3 layers of equipment from different providers.
Great, thank you. I think we saved the best till last, so great, thank you very much. It's nice to see that number 3 looks to me to be the best one.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? I'll simply say thank you. And we do have a prepared motion. And that is that the presentation by Shared Networks Canada on the proposed communications tower at 4136 Bowman Road be received. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by John, seconded by Larry. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. I don't know whether this is going to be a record short meeting or not, but it should be documented that it's close. Our next item of business is a motion to adjourn, please. And the prepared motion is that the committee of the whole meeting held on January 9th, 2024 be adjourned at 1:12 p.m. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Larry, seconded by Mark. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.